Hello friends of the Youth Roundtable and viewers of the Civic Space TV. Welcome to episode 41 of the Youth Roundtable. Today we shall cast a light on a very important and interesting topic, which is the East African Federation, a federation that has grown ever since from 3 members, the original Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda, to now a tune of 7 member states. We know that in 2007, Rwanda and Burundi applied and they were successfully admitted into the federation. In 2016, South Sudan applied and they successfully got admitted. The most recent entrant and the new kid on the block, the Democratic Republic of Congo, that just joined us this particular month. We, of course, will continue to welcome them into this federation. We hope that this federation can continue to grow bigger because of the benefits that come with a bigger number of member states in a given federation. But also we're here to evaluate that, is this a federation of the heads of states, or there is actually a homogeneous and generic integration of the people of East Africa? But also areas around the future of this federation. Do we anticipate a common currency in the near future? Areas around free trade, among other very pertinent issues. And to enable us understand and evaluate this, I'm joined by a panel. Of course, the Youth Roundtable looks out for the cream of the cream. And today's cream, I will just introduce them right away. To my extreme right is a friend of ours, appearing for the first time, Mr. Brian Aruho. Brian is the speaker of the Cavendish University Law School. Brian, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
You can say hello to our viewers.
Hello, everyone. I'm truly delighted to be here with my fellow youth leaders and Mr. Kidega Moses, obviously, who is our 001 on this session. We'll be tackling a number of pertinent issues, and I do request you to tune in and speak in a word or two from the session. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Next to Mr. Brian is our boss, the Vice Chairperson of the National Youth Council of Uganda, Dr. Esther Nankya. Nankya, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much. Greetings to you all, young people of the country. Like Kidega has said, I'm Dr. Nankya Esther, and I'm humbled to be here as a leader of the young people. Please tune in and listen in, give in your ideas where you think. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Our 2 panelists have told you to tune in and give us your ideas, but how can you do this? Go to the comment section and put your comments and let us know what you think about their views and what you think about the conversation. Next to Doctor is the president of the Uganda Young Democrats, which is the youth wing of the mainstream Democratic Party. Mr. Ismail Kiirya, you're most welcome.
Thank you. I would like to first of all actually thank the Civic Space TV for this opportunity. Many times they have tried me when I was actually very, very busy. But I thank Comrade Kidega for being resilient on me until actually I had to create time to come on Civic Space TV. Maybe because you're my fellow young Democrat. I'm happy for that, and I really call you upon to come back in UID. It's a very good platform, which gives a lot of space for the young people. Ladies and gentlemen, Kiirya Ismail is my name, the president of the Uganda Young Democrats. I'm here with you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. For the benefit of our viewers, on this show, I am only a moderator and I'm non-partisan. But for those who care to know, I'm a proud member of the National Resistance Movement. But for this show, I'm neutral. Next to Kiirya and next to me is a friend of ours by the names Katushabe Brendan Shuganda. Is that the right pronunciation? Shuganda. Shuganda. Oh, sorry.
Katushabe Brendan Shuganda.
In Shuganda. Yeah, Brendan is a student of Uganda Christian University at the law school there. But also I know she is the founder of Own Your Future initiative. Thank you for joining us, Brenda. Our viewers
Thank you so much. Yeah, I am excited to be at the round table. You had earlier on said that as a moderator, you're non-partisan, and I had loved that, yeah. So I pray we just keep that way. Yeah, I am excited. I believe in speaking because I know that as young people, when we don't speak, no one will understand our mind, especially on very important matters. So I understand that as we are here, we are going to, you know, raise our voices on the federation here, and you never know. even the people that are commenting, we might really have something to really impact on this.
Yeah, sure. Let me begin with you, Comrade Brian.
Yes.
Brian, the history of the East African Federation actually goes way back into the colonial days. I know for sure that Uganda was a protectorate, Kenya was a colony, and I think so was Tanzania. But the state colonies or the colonizers at the time attempted to, to integrate the East African community. But of course, because of resistance from internal states, this could not go, as far. But I know that at a time T around the 1960s, there was actually a successful integration where we had the East African Railway coming into place and other East African cooperatives, coming into place. So it looks like we have been trying to build this federation for a long period of time. For the benefit of our viewers, could you give us a historical perspective into this federation? I have only given a snippet of it, but I know as a lawyer or as a constitutional history student, you've addressed your mind to this history of how we find ourselves having this federation today. So could kick us off from there.
To the pathway. Anyway, yes, to start with, as Mr. Kidega earlier on stated, we see that the East African Federation, it isn't a topic that we should say it's very new, as you stated earlier on. Yeah, this formation, this union, this familyhood dates way back, even when the first time we stepped into independence. That is with regards to Uganda, with regards to Kenya and Tanzania. There are 3 states to start with. Yes, we see that there were a number of attempts before the whole funnyhood came in. There were a number of attempts between Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, yes, and there were a number of attempts between President.
Kenya?
No, of Uganda.
The Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister, sorry. The Prime Minister.
President
That is
Obote?
Milton Obote.
Yes.
I don't want to go back into the colonial thing because me and our former colonies, colonialists, we have problems. Let me start with the Pan-African view.
Okay.
Yes, but we see that this one were people that looked beyond the border issues. Yeah, we looked at the aspect of unity because it's through the unity that you have a big wide space. Yeah. When you break down the states, you have a smaller gap for one, for your political growth, 2, for your social inclusion, and 3, for your economic capacities. Yeah, when you have borders, that limits your space. Now we see that if we are to address our minds back into time, when Julius Nyerere and Mwalimu Julius Nyerere and our Prime Minister then developed that good relationship, and if we are to look at the economic trade back then, there was a good interaction between our businessmen and the businessmen on the other hand. Yeah. Along the way, now this prompted other states to come in because they saw that the business was moving through. You cannot, if Kidega is my friend and I'm his friend and we desire to partner into something, I cannot place my interests above his interests. We sit at a table, we discuss and say, look, this is the percentage on how we are going to run this. Yeah. Politically, maybe we are going to look at this and this sphere. Yeah. Socially, we are going to look at this and this sphere. Yeah. And if we are to look at these people drew a number of lessons from one another, in that if this one introduced a certain tax, maybe the other nation will also bring it into play. If a politician on their side, criticized maybe something, that is what also came into play. Yeah. Maybe then now, how does this coordinate into the integration and the federation? Is that when you see Field Marshal, self-proclaimed Field Marshal Idi Amin, that they're coming into play and trying to disrupt the whole unity, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere came in, hands-on, and detested his movement. Yeah. Because there was a union that was already formed, a union for the benefit of East Africans. And when we get out of the issue between our self-proclaimed Field Marshal and Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, when we come into 2010 now, we see Rwanda and Burundi coming in. Yeah, you see our economic gap now being greater. Yeah. Now, if coming back to 2020, fast forward, when you see DRC coming into play, I don't know if you have looked at the map. I know people have seen the map. If you have to look at the map, without putting Uganda, Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda inside, you see that DRC alone is big. Yeah. Now, let's include them. Let's try to frame up the math. The economic trade between the East African states minus DRC back then, and the economic trade that will happen now with DRC in, they are going to be different. Yeah, we are going to have a very big scope of exports and imports into the nation. This is going to help us want to develop our economic investments. That goes down to the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni usually uses a certain word to me, which is not good, but I'm not from that tribe, but at least I got that phrase. Yeah, working for your stomach only. But now, if we go into this, I think economically, I want to look at the economic aspect. Economically, we are going to grow. Yeah.
Okay.
And what is going to help us is the economic growth over time with DRC inclusive.
Okay. Fair enough. Let me give Katushabe a chance to expand on that history. Then we shall pick it up from there.
Yeah, well, from what we have heard him speak, yeah, he has tried to take us back to the history, yeah, and also we really want to understand that this kind of, getting together does not just start now, or it has not just started maybe in 2010 or probably 2016 when we see DRC joining, yeah. We also have to understand that way back, one of the secretaries from the colonial masters introduced this, yeah. To some of the people in the African community, they did not really like it. I think to them it was more of, this is our country, what we have is ours, and you can actually expand on that, yeah? So they did not really buy the idea until then, when probably they saw some of the countries get together, when we see the three founders, the first three countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, now work on something, and it's really, like developmental, and it's helping out, and then maybe also those other countries started realizing this, yeah. But then I feel like we also have something to appreciate, yeah. We have something to appreciate from, these colonial masters, because most of the things that we just see now began way back from them, yeah. No one could actually, I think if it was, a question of only Africans, we would actually not look at that, yeah. But you see, they tell us that we can get together. It's also something maybe that we can pick from the superpowers, yeah, that when you see them get together, at least something got done, yeah. So when you look at what we are discussing today, just imagine all of us getting together into what they want to launch maybe in 2023, that is if it so happens, yeah. What would really happen? We have seen superpowers in the international space, and how they're all performing, just like you have said, when DRC joins with its big space, yeah, it's really going to be, a very good ground, yeah. So I just want us to look at this and realize that, okay, now if we do this, Africa, if the East African Federation gets in place, we shall be like Africa's #1 superpower, and at least we shall really have a very big space to compete with the international space. So I really feel like it's just a matter of us understanding that it is just way beyond our self-interest, or probably as a country, but also as a region, yeah. And also I feel like it should also come back to the citizens of these countries to also feel this, yeah. Not just the heads. Okay, today we see the president in maybe Tanzania, or maybe tomorrow we see him in Rwanda. They are seated, yeah. We just hear maybe our presidents have come together and they're talking about something. We also need to understand these as young people and also citizens of the country. I think it should go back to the heads of the states, to also let us understand that this is going to help us. It's going to benefit us. It should not stop there in their space, but it should get back to the citizens. Because the moment we also understand and realize the benefits of these as citizens, they're also going to contribute in one way or the other, yeah. We shall not just, because you see sometimes people are going to criticize you because you do not tell them the importance of something, yeah. So probably some Ugandans will be like, we don't want that, it's just going to cost us, yeah. Maybe we should just stay the way we are, yeah. Or probably some people will show you the outcomes and say maybe it's not going to work out, because we have seen, for example, Kenya in the EAC, when they were trying to ask for more representation, yeah. So maybe some Ugandans will also say that, you see, no, we don't want that, because some countries might become greedy, yeah. So some of us are just going to look at the outcomes being negative, yeah, because maybe the heads of states have not, taken the mandate to sensitize
the people.
Sensitize us,
Yeah.
Information.
Fair enough. Oh, okay, sure.
Information, something short.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we even get to Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania coming together initially, I would like to bring it to your notice that even Tanzania was initially two countries. It was
Yeah.
Zanzibar and Tanganyika
Okay.
under the leadership of Julius Nyerere that they had to come together and
Yeah.
form Tanzania.
The
And
Republic
we
of
cannot
Tanzania.
noticeably see their development as Tanzania since they came together. So I think it is a good initiative, and yes, they have really put it, our leaders have really put it out there for us. But like Katushabe said, it is important that the people of the different communities get to be notified about the different functions of this and how well can they benefit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Vice. I will have a follow-up question for you, but let me first bring in Comrade President. Kiirya, Katushabe and equally Vice Chair and Brian have alluded to the fact and to the role of political leaders. You are a political leader in your institution. Let us just analyze and expand the role of political leaders and what they have either achieved or counter-achieved in terms of building this federation. I'll take you back to the mid-1970s when there was a rift that developed between Mwalimu Julius Nyerere and President Idi Amin Dada. And certain personal statements were made. If I'm to quote right, Idi Amin referred to Julius Nyerere as a woman, you know, and he said, if you were a woman, I would marry you, you know. And then Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, in his response, equally said that, but you're called Dada. And you know, Dada in Kiswahili means sister. So he said, but you're already a woman yourself. So you can see that there are the political leaders, because they had their personal differences, it affected the East African Federation's growth. And you saw that later on when Idi Amin Dada attempted to encroach on the Kagera part of Tanzania. You saw how Mwalimu Julius Nyerere retaliated. I know the international law gives room for hot pursuit, okay? In case a given state infringes on the sovereignty of another sovereign state, then the international law allows you to have a hot pursuit. You go after them, but then you retreat. But the way with which Tanzania responded to Idi Amin Dada, it showed that there was something that they were waiting for the opportunity for Idi Amin to make a mistake, then they punish him. So it looks like the political leaders have an instrumental role to play in this federation. So what is your own analysis? As a political leader, a young political leader, do you think that the political leadership of these different states have played a role either towards progressing or counter-progressing this federation?
Thank you very much for that wonderful question. But before I handle the question, let me first take you back to the previous integration by the colonialists. We do understand that actually there were some attempts to come up with an integration of the East Africa. Then you also say that maybe Uganda was a protectorate, Germany was a colony, Tanzania was a colony, and Kenya. Now, you find that the three countries by then, that is 1970s, 1940s, 1960s, were totally different from the then countries at the moment. The three countries by 1970s, they were very easy to integrate. And actually by then, there was actually little room for a country to refuse to integrate, because we were all actually at the mercy of our masters. And what they could say, it is what we go on. But now, you first of all ask yourself, why do you think the integration failed by then? What happened? When these people actually, they could just cough and respond. When by then, you just see a white man moving around and we enter our houses. You understand? So why did that integration fail by then? Now, you find that some of the selfish interests which our colonial masters had by then are some of the things which failed the integration. And those very selfish interests, they were planted in these three countries. Now, you find that by then, there was an issue of the language. There was an issue of the economy. There were so many issues. So now you think that actually that fear of losing authority, the fear of losing maybe the freedom they had in each and every country, it could be some of the reasons why they could not allow East African to integrate. Now, it is the same story at the moment. So, the political leadership by then, 1960s, it was planted in the countries, and now it was transferred to the leadership which is now coming in. When you try to visit these three countries, I'm a graduate of a program for young politicians in Africa. I could try to interact with some of my fellow leaders in those three countries. But you find that there is something like undermining ourselves when we are together. When you speak to the Kenyan, he thinks that actually Ugandan is somehow lower than him or her. When you talk to a Tanzanian, he said, now Ugandans, they don't speak Swahili, they are nothing. You understand? For us in Uganda, we say, those people, they don't know good English. You understand? Now, you find that such atmosphere, it may not actually be a good atmosphere for us to integrate. However, as political leaders, we have a role now to sensitize our masses. We have a role to remove the problem which was left by the colonial masters, because that is the problem which is facing us. Now, an integration, it is pushing us to a certain level. When you come to an integration, it is pushing us to a certain level. But when you come to an integration, that means that actually certain things are supposed to be achieved, then we go to a federation. You understand? But you find that just like the colonial masters were fearing to lose power, it is the same thing which is happening at the moment. So they could actually come in to say that now we are now integrating. For example, here Uganda is actually, there is a will for the integration. But when they look at the political aspect of authority, some countries actually don't move very fast as they are supposed to move. In Uganda here, I think for us actually, we have that great will for the integration. Because I saw the president even integrating to the East African passport. But for Tanzania, it is still there. They are still having their old passport. Kenya, they are still having their old passport. Now you find, what is the problem? We are in an integration. You take some of the goods in a certain country, they are refused. You understand? A certain board again is cut off for a different country. So the question you're asking is that, first of all, we need to sensitize ourselves at first as leaders. Do we really need this integration? Do we really actually appreciate this integration? Do we really actually want our people to integrate with other people? You understand? Once we achieve that, then I think we shall be in position actually to even tell the wananchi down now, the people we live, and now the integration is very good. But if we don't actually show that as leaders, then it will be very hard even for the local people to appreciate the integration. At first, at the moment, the integration is at the top. As leaders, we are the one who know the integration. But when you go deep, let me use Mukono, so those villages, you talk about the integration, they will not understand.
Even here.
You understand? Yes, even here, they will not understand. So now, when the integration is still at above, it is actually the people who make the integration, not the president.
Because actually, on your point, the question is, how long has the East African community been in place?
Yes.
How long have they been together? But do you really think the indigenous people of the country understand that we are even having that
they
relationship?
really appreciate it? So the mere fact that actually the news of integration are still at the leaders and those who have the will of looking for the knowledge, then that means that actually there is no anything like integration.
Maybe to not just say, to supplement on it. You see, there is a difference between will and implementation. Yeah? Those are two very different things. It takes ordinary leaders to form up a will. It takes extraordinary leaders to implement the will. Yeah. Now, you talked about 1960s. I think it's better now we go back to 1950s, yeah, because that's when we actually saw real fights about who colonizes which country, who gets the most. Because you see, this is a topic I didn't want us going to, but if we are to look at the angle in which he brought it in is good, yeah, 1960s. Now let's bring in the colonial aspect. Let's take ourselves back in 1950s. In 1950s, Kidega wouldn't organize this space. That look, come and talk about integration. He would be killed. Yeah. He talked about a white man passing and people running to their houses. Why? That was already a mentality. Yeah? That when you do this, there is a repercussion. And the repercussions are not these repercussions of, you would lose your life. Yeah. So it needs us to go back to 1950s. In that period, what used to happen in Africa? Every European state or every state that had interest in Africa wanted to harness their potential within that nation. Yeah. So you wouldn't bring in a topic of integration, because if the British were in Uganda, and anyway, I don't have to go into colonialists, but if we had a certain region of people in Uganda and a certain region of people in Kenya, yeah, they were always at loggerheads. Yeah. Because the person in Kenya knew, I have access to the sea. I'll control any import and export. Yeah. The person in Uganda knew, I have the river Nile. Anything that goes up and comes down, I can control from here. Yeah. And what was at the point? Let's say if Kidega was let me just use this for examples. Yeah. If he was a British and you're Scottish, yeah. This is Uganda. This is Kenya. Yeah. And this is okay, and you're German. Yeah? You all want interests, maybe in to have the biggest atmosphere in Africa. One, it's because you're not looking at your benefit. You're looking at your benefit back home. Yeah? You want to push for your language to be taught. Yeah? You want to have a bigger scope of a population, because you see, when you have a language, yeah, it comes down to the integration. When you have a language that people can understand, business will flow. Yes, the business language is one language that is understood by everyone, irrespective. If I tell you this is for 200, you tell me no, I'll give you 150. It doesn't need you to know the best English or the best Swahili. Yeah, but those selfish interests, I think she pitched on it. Selfish interests. Selfish interests came about who has the biggest space in Africa, who has the biggest population in Africa, who has the biggest mineral outreach in Africa. And you know, this is why, up to date, 2022, you see different West African countries still fighting the French to get out. Because people are realizing, and I think you people do realize that we still have one country that is still under colonialism. The Sub-Saharans. Yeah. You see, it's because of this impeaching thing. So when he says about us integrating now and being a common people, I think he's trying to pitch in the thing of, I don't want to think of what you thought, but I think you're bringing the issue of having a language.
Yeah, thank you very much, Comrade Brian, for your concern, but let me bring in Esther. Esther, the concern of the Federation looks like it failed right from the word go, because I'll tell you that in the mid-1950s, when Buganda was clamoring for the independence of both Buganda and of Uganda, Britain at the same time was advancing the interest of the East African Federation. And what they did as a result, or as an attempt to achieve this, was that they moved the Buganda Protectorate from the Department of Colonialism to the Department of Foreign Affairs. This was a clear gesture of their attempt to now begin to set in motion the ball of the East African Federation. And I recall very well at the time, the leadership of Buganda agitated and put up a very strong resistance and argued that Buganda should remain in the Department of Colonialism. So the idea was that Buganda actually did not want, first of all, the integration of the protectorate of Uganda itself. Yeah, they wanted the independence as Buganda, but also the bigger integration of East Africa. It looks like the people of Buganda did not appreciate the idea that we need to be one people. And yet they had a lot of influence and power at the time. Do you think that if Buganda had given a green light at the time and said, okay, I think it is good for us to be one protectorate of Uganda, but also it's a good idea for us to be East Africa, maybe we would be slightly further than we are today in terms of this integration?
Yes, I think if Buganda at the time had actually agreed to work together with the colonial leaders to come together as one country, Uganda, and then East Africa as a large community, we would be very, very far, just like the United States, other states are doing abroad. But the problem is uh, power, leadership, and ego. Okay, as leaders, we do not want to wake up one day and know it, yes, I'm under someone. Someone is above me, someone, I'm taking rules from someone. Yet at the end of the day, if we come together as a community and agree on the principles and we have one agenda, I think we can have development, we can have all the benefits of this federation come up to us. But the problem is, are these heads of the different states really going to agree that yes, we are having a community who is going to be the head of the community? We all know that yes, power is sweet, leadership is sweet. Everyone wants to be the head of the community. Everyone wants to show, yes, I'm powerful. But at the end of the day, we have to let the ego down and know what is the importance of this whole thing of coming together and look at the advantages of the federation beyond what as a person or as the head of state think. Because initially, if Buganda leadership had actually come up together and tabled their interests and talked to the leaders then on how we can come together and form one country and then form one community. In the 1950s, as the community would really be far because a lot would have been achieved together. I believe that together we can. I believe that if we come together as a community like we have already come and discuss our issues and try to assist each other and try to open borders for our traders, we can develop economically, socially, and then try to implement what our heads of state are initially talking about. I believe that yes, we can get there. But how is it going to be done? How is the leadership going to be put out there? Because remember, all these leaders are political leaders. Yes, they'll need to have the power. They need to know that, yes, I'm the head of the community. So how best can that be done?
Yeah, so I just to supplement on what she's saying,
Sure.
I think the issue here, it's literally a question of, am I ready to give out what I am best at? Yeah, because when you go back to the Buganda issue that we are talking about right now, we realize that Buganda by then was like the biggest, tribe by then.
That Uganda had.
In Uganda, yeah. So they were not really ready to give out the fact that, we are now coming together and we are all going to be equal. Yeah, we shall all be looked at, as one big space. Yeah. So they were not ready to lose that. Yeah. It also comes back to a point of, these countries as well at the current status not wanting to give out their best. Everyone knows that, my jurisdictional boundaries are these. I am good at this. I have the Nile. I'm not ready to give it out. Yeah. I'm not ready to, come to a consensus where we are a big consortium and we are all having, authority over it. Yeah. I cannot accept to give out my best to another country. Yeah. Because this means that we are now going to be a big consortium. Yeah. So what belongs to Uganda belongs to Kenya. What belongs to Kenya belongs to, Tanzania. And we are not ready to accept that. Yeah?
Yeah. Maybe to supplement. She talked about pride and ego.
Yeah, thank you.
And then you talked about,
The
to wrap up everything, the selfish interest. Yeah. The desire not to give up your will. Now, as I earlier on told you, will and implementation are different, yeah? So when she talks about ego, now here is the thing. Buganda then had most of the administrative bodies here. Yeah? Okay, let's look at 2022 forward. Uganda, most of the economic bodies, most of the forums, the biggest percentage of development is still within Central Region, which then was Buganda, and it's still Buganda, right? Yeah. So one, we are looking at one perspective of Buganda refusing to have joined with Uganda in the initial state. As Mr. Kidega said, Buganda received independence one day before Uganda's independence. Yeah, and then Uganda still refused. Okay, didn't necessarily refuse, but was amongst the biggest pushers not to join East African community. When they came from the office of the colonies, yeah, the office of the foreign affairs, because they thought that's where they're going in.
Yeah,
Now,
going back to the same.
the question is, were they ready, before we even put the interests there, the question is, were they ready to give up the development they had to other regions that were not yet developed? I don't think so. Yeah. Now, 2022, because then they were looking at development. Yeah. Now we have nuclear. Do we have nuclear weapons? We have the military.
Not tested yet.
Not necessarily. We have the military. Yeah. We have our possessions gotten. I don't know whether in good hands or bad hands. Yeah. And then we know then we know Kidega knows something about me, I know something about him, we can rule together. Katushabe knows something about me, I know something about her. Now that is within this jurisdiction. Yeah. I know we can handle things quickly. I'll call Kidega and I'll be like, yo, there is this and this. But if you do this, the next campaign, there is this. Yeah. I don't want to put it in any other framework. But are we willing, are our leaders also willing to hand over that tool, that look, this is my baton for the military.
Yeah.
This is how we have been running. I accept you have become president. Please take over. My nation is your nation. Your nation is my nation. Yeah. Because you see, when you become a state, let's say like United States or something, or the federation, that means you're no longer going to have a country called Uganda. Neither are you going to have a country called Rwanda. Neither a country called Kenya, and the respective. Yeah. It's going to be one East African Federation. Then maybe the Ugandan state, the Kenyan state, like that. Yeah. So the question is, are our leaders willing to second one person to lead them?
Are they willing
and
to?
then, now to break it down to individuals.
Just 1 second, Brian.
Yes.
I think the idea being advanced is not that we should have a common president.
Yes.
Because already the East African Federation has a chairperson, which is rotational. So I think we shouldn't be so quick to look at it as, we have to abandon our sovereignty and abandon our political powers and then hand it over to one single person. I think that the mode that is being used right now should be sufficient.
Yeah, I bet that because of our point.
To add on his word, is that when you actually try to discuss in the perspective of the federation, again, we're worsening everything. We are making everything actually impossible. You understand?
That's on the implementation.
Currently, yes, but coming to the federation, we need to achieve some 3 layers. That is the common market, common custom, then common currency. You understand? That's where we go. Then, after now having the same currency, market, and everything, then we can say that now we are somehow common or related. You understand? I'm a Ugandan, I can go to Kenya and I do my business, come back. A Rwandan can come here, do his business, come back. I go to Congo like that. Then the currency is the same. I don't need to go to Tanzania to change my currency. The Rwandan doesn't need to come here to change the mafaranga into shillings. You understand? So that's where we are at the moment. So I think the question is, are we really going to achieve these 3 layers at the moment? If they were not achieved before, what happened? Why do you think they did not achieve them? You understand? Then on top of that, let us try to sensitize our members at the moment. Let us bring this integration from the top to down
to the grassroots.
So that even the border man who is bringing you here at the civic space is really appreciating the integration. And he or she knows what the integration is impacting on him and the sons and daughters at home.
Yeah, just fair enough. Comrade President, let me just stick with you. You've somehow preempted my mind and my question to you. And my question is that for how long are we going to continue to rely on the goodwill of the heads of state? That if head of state A wakes up on a good day, then the federation will have progress. If head of state B wakes up on a bad day, then the federation takes a back step. Do you think, because for long it has been a top-bottom approach, do you think it is possible for us to explore the bottom-up approach, whereby it is a common demand of the ordinary East African that you guys, you know what, we need this federation, and the demand is generic, it is indigenous, rather than it being a boardroom head of state integration? Do you think it is possible for us to have it from the bottom,
coming from the bottom
up? Or you think the Wananchi and the ordinary East African is not properly organized, they are not properly motivated, they probably even don't see the importance of this, and therefore whether it is bottom up or top bottom, they don't even care about
They
it.
don't care.
Well, it is possible for the wananchi to start that demand, but it is in the long run. Just like I've told you that actually the problem we are having is that some of the presidents in the East African countries, they are product of the colonialists, and they are also product of the tactics of the colonialists. It is intentional, actually, for the information of the integration not to flow at the grassroots.
Yeah.
You find that there is a lot of actually intimidation, there is a lot of fear in people, for us who have the information, to take it down. You understand that some of us can actually speak some words here, but when you tell that person actually about maybe sensitizing the masses about the integration down there, on camera, you may fail to bring it out here. You understand? So that one is a bit, it is in the long run, but the big duty is upon our heads of state. Because I told you, we are now a product of colonialists. And there is what the colonialists actually left behind. Now, our leaders are also using that kind of perspective or that kind of tactics to rule the leaders. I mean the members in the country. So you find that there is a will of the integration, but when you look now at the interests and the power, the authority, you find that actually the speed which Uganda is moving on upon the integration is not the same speed Rwanda is moving on upon the integration. It is not the same speed which Tanzania is moving on upon the integration. So you might find that few Ugandans may say that, hey, we need an integration, maybe because of the information which is flowing downward. But now the citizens of Tanzania or Rwanda may not appreciate it because now their leaders are not actually preaching it downwards. So you find that one country may be behind, another one may be ahead in terms of perspective and perception of understanding what the integration and appreciating the integration is bringing to them. So for that, it will be actually very slow. But the speed is going to actually to be manifested by the top leaders because they are the one now to tell the citizens that now this thing is good, appreciate it, it's going to help us as a country.
Sure, but Brian, let me begin with you after the break because our time is fast spent. We need to take a short commercial break. Our viewers, thank you very much for keeping it to the Youth Roundtable. We hope you're enjoying the conversation. Please feel free to put your comments on the comment section. If you agree with any of the views of the panelists, let us know by putting your comment on the comment section. But also, it's okay to disagree, but let us know what your alternative opinion is. For now, let's go for a short commercial break and see you after that. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure that you've kept it the Youth Roundtable, and we hope that you can, continue to enjoy this conversation. But for now, let me bring in Comrade Vice Chairperson. Esther, the concern still lingers around the possibility of this integration and how best can we fast track it. And Comrade Ismail brought in the aspect of a common custom. My understanding about custom and values and norms is that they are a common set of beliefs and common set of practices that people, indulge themselves in. And this is where I credit Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, that Tanzania is actually a multi-nation state. There are so many tribes within Tanzania. But the way Mwalimu Julius Nyerere successfully brought them under a common custom and common set of values and beliefs, you can easily be lured to think that Tanzanians are people of the same tribe. If you meet a Tanzanian outside Tanzania, you can't know if they are a Chagwa or they are from, Dodoma. You can barely tell because of the aspect of the common language, the common set of values, the common set of beliefs. Now, Uganda, to the contrary, and many other states in the East African Federation have even failed to have common unity within their countries. So how possible is it for us to export unity into the federation, which we don't have within our own countries. Okay, you look at, for example, Kenya. Okay, how the Eastern Kenya is always at political conflict with Western Kenya. So it looks like the unity within these independent states is still lacking, and therefore maybe that could be a possible aspect towards frustrating the common integration. So could you speak to that? But also, you had a point that you are making before the break, so you could begin with your point, then you can respond to that.
Let me just go straight to that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Now, I think initially, basically, I think that it is possible to have the East African community unite. But what you have to do is try to talk to the different youth, to the different leaders, not only youth, but different leaders. Even a small community somewhere has its leader.
Yes.
It has its leader that they listen to. So it is the role of the heads of state to try to bring information down to the wananchi. Even a small group of maybe in a community of maybe women, it has their leadership, it has a person that they listen to. So if we try to talk to them and inform them about the functions or the importances or the different benefits that the countrymen are going to get from this federation, it is better, because they're going to get the information. They're going to know that yes, when you unite as one, as a state, or as together, we are going to benefit this and that. We are going to get this and that. So I believe, yes, the unity, the federation will be possible only if our heads of states come down to the leaders of the different groups of people. The Catholic community, the Protestant community, the Muslim community, the different tribes we are having in the country. Let those leaders be told the information, let them be educated, and let them be given a task of informing their people that they are leading. I believe if we inform all those people as one unit, at the end of that day, everyone will be knowing that yes, we're having a federation, this and this is going to take place. But without informing those different leaders at the different levels and tasking them to give information to their people, then it will be fighting the unity. Yet all we need is to unite the people as one community. So for me, I believe it is going to be possible, but how are we going to inform other people? Let them know, let women know, let Catholics know, let Protestants know, let Muslims know, let all culture groups know, let them inform their people in their communities. And at the end of the day, information will be there, and yes, it will be a go forward for us.
Yeah,
and I'm actually thinking, that we are living a digital era where actually bringing something to unite people is very easy than it was before. When you look at international law, people look at common practices to form an international customary law. If you look into the East African countries, there are those common practices that we have where these leaders can penetrate and find a common uniting factor. Which is even very easy now that we have the digital platforms. Because maybe either ways we would think that before, prior to this, current status, it was very hard that you have to go and inform the president, and the president had to go and inform maybe the leaders, and also the leaders had to go back and, I also want us to look at her point, which is very, very important, where you do not sensitize your citizens, where you do not sensitize actually people in the country. They are the very people that are going to come back tomorrow and show you the negative part of this federation. For example, I gave a very clear example. These are leaders. Let's say, okay, the current president of Uganda is one that is signing now. He's a signatory now to the federation. And maybe the current president of Kenya, and maybe, Tanzania. So these are the signatories now. And they might actually sit down as heads, like she's saying, and they accept and they come into a federation. But what happens without sensitizing the citizen? That another person who's going to come and succeed you tomorrow might disagree. They will be like, you did not come back to us to tell us. Actually, you did not show. You didn't consult us. We don't know. Yes, maybe we know about it, but we don't know about the what? We don't know how we benefit. We are not actually benefiting anything. Maybe it's just actually benefiting you as leaders, but for us, we are not getting
The benefit,
anything.
yeah.
So as we enter into this federation, our leaders should know that it's not only them, it is not their federation, but it is our federation.
Yeah.
Whatever step you go in, I am supposed to know about it.
Yeah.
Because we all have equal rights, whether you're a leader or not, no one is above the law. So we are all supposed to what?
Yeah.
To be engaged. And
Yeah.
they can find common practices, like you said, and we get a one custom here. It is very easy using the digital era. We can do that. So I think it's very possible. Let it go back to, you know, the ordinary people knowing and not just hearing leaders in meetings and conferences and it's, you know, past.
Yeah.
In summary,
Okay, you
in
can
summary,
summarize.
nothing for us without us.
About us.
So let the beneficiaries be informed. If this federation is for the beneficiaries of people living in that community, in the East African community, all those 7 countries, let the beneficiaries be informed of what they expect to get from the federation. Nothing without the beneficiaries. So for them, so
sure.
that is it.
Let me come to you, Brian.
Okay, fine.
And I listened to our heads of state last week when they were, you know, signing and welcoming DRC into this federation. And one of their core areas of interest was a common security.
Yeah.
And I would understand where they're coming from. Because with the current day and era where there is transnational terrorism, terrorism has become very sophisticated. These terrorism groups use sophisticated methods now of orchestrating their violence, okay? Because you'll find, for example, you have Boko Haram in Nigeria, but their deeds and works cut across multiple nations.
Yeah.
You have Al-Qaeda in Somalia, but the works cut across, you know, ADF in Congo, but the violence goes as far as Uganda. So I would understand if our leaders are trying to move towards a common security agenda. It's important because you'll recall that even at the inception of the United Nations, it was actually League of Nations, and the idea was still around security.
Great.
So to me, security is a fundamental concern for all of us all. And I think I applaud our leaders for moving towards that kind of direction. Because there is something called strategic depth in security that, for example, imagine if East Africa Federation was one country and the capital was maybe Kampala, and maybe ADF maybe attacked us from the border of Kinshasa, you know, towards that side. By the time they would reach our capital city of Kampala, we could have maybe responded already. But now imagine if you're only Uganda. If they attack you from the border of Busia, it takes an hour before they're at the capital city. But if the border is as far as, you know, as Congo that side, by the time they attack your capital city, you've responded. So the idea of strategic, you know, security depth, is, you know, comes in. So my concern to you is that security, can we achieve security, better security? Because you know that Kenya has had terror attacks. Westgate was attacked in 2013, around there. Uganda, we need not to mention. We all know. You know, Tanzania, I'm sure, has had its own. So the idea of security, because now let's move towards the gains of this federation. Are we looking at our security being beefed up and being boosted with this federation?
All right, thank you. Mercy, as I stated before, security is very key, even for development. Yeah. When you have a period of peace, you need to prepare for war, as the military people say. Even when you have a period of war, you need to prepare for the period of peace. Yeah, vis-a-vis. So bringing back to the point of us having security, you see, when you come together as those different states, different nations have different ways on how they handle their intelligence and their security. Yeah. Now, we can't put away the fact Kenya has a very good intelligence system. Yeah. Uganda as well has a very good intelligence system. That's why now you'll find that when the ADF attacked Uganda, now let's just to give you a preamble, when ADF attacked Uganda and it's presumed that they ran the other side, when they attacked our brothers and sisters in DRC, President Shuganda quickly gave access to the UPDF to come in. Yeah, this is one format of you having, let me call it more of counterterrorism. Yeah, because when you have a bigger space, one, it becomes very hard for someone to penetrate you and go away, just like that. Yeah, so because you'll have working intelligence teams and you'll have working security teams. Yeah, because now you're combining the strength of different states. Yeah, look at the efforts of Rwanda within their intelligence. Rwanda is a small country geographically, but their intelligence is so. I can tell you for a fact you can't do nonsense in Rwanda and you think you'll be 48 hours away before you're netted. Yeah. The same in Kenya. Yeah. Uganda, I don't need to speak because we all know. But the thing is, if we had all these regional bodies, yeah, intelligence and security would enable, one, us to secure our political freedom within the states, two, to secure our economic interests, yeah, that is the imports and exports, yeah, three, to also secure our social interests, yeah, because social interests cut across our cultures and everything. But then the key thing is that we, as you stated about terrorists, Boko Haram and what, it will be very hard. It's very hard for such institutions, such bodies to come and attack a well-groomed security state. Yeah, a federation now, like the East African Federation. If we had a common army, a common intelligence system, we'll find that we have sectors each and everywhere. By the time you move from that border to even come to two villages in two, would have done. You know, there is something called counterterrorism. Yeah, we'll have a combat already in. Yeah, the counterterrorism. So we will have, yes, a crisis within a certain locality, but the crisis won't involve to other states. So much as you're losing a certain portion, when you look, it will not even cut into 2/3 of the space, your sovereignty. Yeah. So the issues will be, maybe just to rephrase it for you. Recently, when President Museveni went to Rwanda, I don't know if you people followed. There was actually, when our brothers from DRC were coming into Uganda through the border, you realized that there was a fight. I don't know if you people followed that story. You followed that, yeah? So you see that Uganda and DRC, the border where they were fighting from, there was a space of expansion, the no man's land. Yeah? So now imagine if maybe to show you, in this period of the no man's land, during that time, during the attack, these people couldn't approach the Ugandan border. They were being fought from that side. Yeah. And this gave our brothers and sisters from DRC time to actually run and come into Uganda. Yeah, because they knew now here there is a peace center, and this is where the real terrorism is happening. So everything will be suppressed outside your jurisdiction, but within your jurisdiction, people are fine. So to wrap it up, security and intelligence will be beefed.
True.
To the utmost.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Capacities.
Comrade Kiirya, some people have argued and said that if there's anyone who benefits from this integration, it is Uganda. If you've had a look at the new East African Federation map, Uganda borders almost all the countries. At the top, we border South Sudan. On this side, we border Kenya. Down here, we border Tanzania. Burundi and Rwanda, of course, somewhere down here. Then now, this side, we border DRC Congo. So we are at the center. We are the center of gravity, literally. So if there's anyone who has much benefit, I think it is Uganda. Do you subscribe to the same school of thought? Or you think that, no, let's not advance Uganda's interests for now. Let us look at how does the East African Federation benefit. But also advancing the latter argument would mean that we are being blind to the reality of the day, which is that the international system is a self-help system. Yes, we are a federation, but at the end of the day, every country is still looking out for itself. So do you think that Uganda, because of its strategic position, is going to benefit much more than other member states? Or we are going to advance the argument of, no, we are in this for us all, and therefore we should not advance selfish interests of independent countries, but rather, how does the federation benefit wholly?
Well, I would like to agree with you that Uganda actually will be the most beneficiary of this integration, more so to the new recruit, the integration, that is DRC. Just like you see now the new map of East Africa, when you look at Uganda, it is the smallest. It is almost actually the smallest, like a dot.
After Burundi and...
Yeah, exactly. And Uganda, it has been so much suffocated in trade when you come to other East African countries. At what time? At one time, our goods were stopped at the border of Uganda and Kenya.
In Kenya.
Yeah.
Maize.
Rwanda, that one, it is self-explanatory. They have just opened the border. But still, when you try to talk to the business people who go to Rwanda, they will tell you what is there. You find that Uganda does not directly connect to Tanzania. You understand? So you see, you see that actually most of our goods are being suffocated. Have been actually being suffocated. Now, on bringing this integration, we are seeing that that Uganda is again now getting at least another alternative. Because initially, Uganda is a landlocked country.
Yes.
Despite of getting or receiving goods from Kenya, it also takes some goods away through Kenya. And we have been having those barriers. Now, we are seeing that DRC is coming with a total population of 90 million people at the moment. That is the new market at the moment. Now, when it comes with the new market, that means that actually some of the goods are going to be now transferred to DRC. So that is one of the advantages. The only thing which Uganda has to do is that at least they should now come into putting on paperwork and many things. We have a market in South Sudan. But you find that most of the businesses which Uganda is doing with South Sudan is informal. People are there riding border borders, people are there in the markets, people are there and what. Now, and actually when South Sudan was opening up, we saw that we even actually, I think, constructed some roads in South Sudan. Then we saw now Kenya moving to South Sudan, putting now factories. You understand? So you can understand that now Uganda benefited less, is benefiting less in South Sudan compared to Kenya. So what we need now to do to DRC, let us now, right now actually in DRC, Kenya is completing actually the final stage of coming up with the Equity Bank, its own original bank, and some other factories. So we also now need to move to that stage so that we can fully benefit from this integration. You find that actually Uganda is so much in position. Actually, it is actually the most friendly country among the East African countries to Congo. Right now, actually, we are hosting around 80,000 refugees from Congo. We have some people who speak the same language to Congo. We are neighboring Congo. So you find that actually we are in a better position compared to other countries.
But
fair enough.
So what we need in that line is actually to strategize fully so that we can benefit technically in technical jobs. For example, engineering, we can actually create moving by road transport in DRC. It is very, very difficult. Most of the people actually fly because of the road network. So if at least we can create that kind of technocrat whereby our people can benefit technically, the engineers, the what, and I think the biggest population.
That's around labor mobility.
Labor mobility. So you find we can actually sell the labor force. We can sell the goods which we have. We can also sell ideas to DRC. Even the security itself, it will be just like Comrade has just talked about security. It will be beefed up compared to how it was. So Uganda as a country, I think at the moment we have a leeway with this integration.
Fair enough. I'll come to you, Comrade Vice and Comrade Brian. Let me first bring in our friend Katushabe. Katushabe, if you look at the East African Federation, there is a semblance of a governance. If you look at the legislative arm of any, normal government, then there you can say we have the East African Legislative Assembly, IALA, which sits in Arusha. If we are to speak about the judiciary, we have the East African Court of Appeal, which is there, right? I think it sits in, where are the headquarters? In Kenya? I am not sure. But
of the IALA?
No. IALA is in Arusha. But there's the East African Court of Appeal, the judiciary, which sits in, I think, Kenya. Now, if you look at the executive or the would have been executive, Then you're looking at maybe the heads of state and that consortium with the chairpersonship. So there's a semblance of, we are moving towards actually an actual integration. But my concern to you is that let's first put aside the executive wing and focus on the other two arms. The role of the East African Court of Appeal towards fostering justice. Do you think that there are cases that have gone to the East African Court of Appeal and we have seen decisions being reversed, and therefore we can say that, oh, actually the East African Court of Appeal has a judicial backbone? Or have we seen the IHALA, the would-be Parliament of East Africa, have they made certain legislations that have gone ahead to influence domestic policies and domestic laws? So if you can speak to those two things, then I'll bring in Comrade Brian. IHALA, has it made policies that have been implemented by sovereign states? And then the East African Court of Appeal, have they reversed any decisions that were taken maybe by the High Court judges or by the Supreme Court judges of these different countries?
Yeah, well, so I think that's a question of, now that brings us to the question of the whole system, like the question of the whole law system, the lawmaking and the policy making organs, and now this is like on an East African level that we have to, look at. Are we serving like our own benefits, or are we really trying to? Because when they reverse a case, of course, or a decision, I really doubt that it's going to be, looking at who benefits, or why are we reversing it? I feel like there are already laws that are in place, and what the law says is what they're supposed to go with. When they come up with policies, for example, maybe to a policy on maybe an economic policy, the role of the court, or the role of the court itself, the ICA, is to listen to appeals, meaning that the person bringing the appeal has tried somewhere, but they have what? They have not maybe been given a positive ruling, and they still want to maybe try out and see, So now the point of this court reversing, this decision, sometimes they might not really want to also differ from what the previous court did.
Yes.
They might not really want to differ from the precedent, Or sometimes maybe there was an error somewhere in what the other court, did, and they want to correct that. We are now looking at a consortium. We are now looking at an East African level. This is not Uganda. This is not Kenya. But it is the East African the East African Court of Appeal. So where they reverse a decision, I feel like it's worth it. That maybe the court of Uganda or maybe the court of Kenya has we all remember the current case of DRC, Congo, and Uganda that has just been ruled. It is not. We shall not really say that maybe because the jurisdiction is that you're not supposed to go and enter the sovereignty of the other country, but where it is really worth it, you can as well come and and infringe on it. So probably I'm thinking that what the court is doing, where for those cases that have been reversed, it is really worth it. I don't really want to normally put self-interest in the law, because what the law says is what it says, Unless, because sometimes now it comes back to this country that maybe at some point, as a one judge maybe tried to, was kind of influenced, or those things that happen, the corruption that also takes place in some countries, Sometimes, yes, we know that this is a judiciary, and they have they have their powers as a judiciary, but sometimes you also realize that the judicial separation is actually not working somehow, somewhere, So maybe now the ICA comes in to maybe make corrections. So I'm thinking that where they actually reverse some of these cases, it is worth it, because they are working on an East African level where you go wrong, Uganda has a right to come and attack, or maybe Kenya has a right to come and say something. So it is really worth it.
Okay, then about IHALA, about the policy making body.
Now for the policy making body, Now this is something big, yeah, because making a policy that is going to, a policy that cuts across these all now 7 countries, yeah. I feel like that is really a bit challenging, yeah. It is really a bit challenging. But I think also it comes back to what is the purpose of the policy? How is the policy going to benefit us, yeah? Is it really workable, yeah? Because sometimes there are policies that we've had, there are policies that we have actually heard of but have never even worked, yeah? There are policies that have tried to bring on board but have not even, like surfaced anywhere, yeah? So I think at the end of the day, it is a matter of, is the policy really workable? Is it benefiting people? What is the policy about? Yeah.
Good concerns over there. Esther, let me come to you.
Okay.
Yes, we're here speaking about how our leaders have failed to integrate East Africa and how, selfish interests have come into place, and therefore the aspirations of this federation has taken a back seat. But I have heard that the National Youth Council of Uganda is trying also to push for an East African Youth Council. Maybe what approach are you using that you think our seniors could, pick a leaf from, or you are approaching your East African Youth Federation or your East African Youth Council, integration from the same angle like our, elders are doing, and therefore you're not making any progress in that line? Or are you making any progress in terms of the East African Youth Council?
Thank you, Comrade Kidega. As leaders of the young people, we are the leaders of tomorrow, like our leaders say. But
when is tomorrow?
But tomorrow is today, but yes, how do they say?
No,
in Uganda we say anytime.
For those of us who know some Kiswahili, we shall say we are not viongozi wa kesho. We are viongozi wa leo. Yeah, we are leaders of today.
Okay, we are leaders. We are the next leaders. We are the next presidents of the country. We are the next ministers of the country.
Yeah.
So if the heads of states are bringing up an idea of federation, of the East African Federation, why not the youth? East African youth
because
leaders?
I've seen youth council delegations from Uganda going to South Sudan to meet with the youth council chairperson there, and then I've seen you guys going to Arusha. Are you just going for these trips just to get per diem, or you're actually negotiating?
We are actually
negotiating for a true realization of the East African Youth Council.
Yes, we are negotiating for the East African Youth Council, because if the youth of today are going to be the leaders of the country in the next generation, they are going to be the presidents of the country, they are going to be the ministers in the different positions of the country. So we need them to get together at one. Also, we need the youth to also start working together. We need them to bring up ideas that are going to develop the community. So we are doing all these movements in the different countries to talk to the youth councils, such that the East African Youth Council begins to be formed as a whole, because it is important. As our presidents are aging, or as our other leaders are aging, we need to come up and take up these positions. But at the start of it all, young leaders need to know, yes, what is the importance of this coming together? What is the importance of uniting? So we are trying to bring up this concept as a whole, but we think that it is very important that also youth leaders start grooming these future leaders or tomorrow leaders from the youth leaders, informing them primarily of the importance and the function of this whole thing as a federation, or as coming together as leaders of the federation.
In fact, there is a very beautiful point there on the federation. Actually, even the federation, the big federation we are looking at, can start with the federation of the young people, because the next generation is actually now. We are the generation. So where you get young people come together, where you get this generation come together, how do you know that maybe tomorrow you'll find her in the parliament and she's, implementing what the big federation?
I think that comes back to a point of having actually leaders, whether at the youth level or at the top level, but having leaders who can read, because I can tell you for a fact, let's use our own parliament. Let's use our own parliament. When the Oil and Minerals Bill was being passed, how many MPs stayed at night to pass that bill? By the time the bill was being passed, I think there are around 14 out of a house of
500.
500
Maybe,
something, yeah? We need leaders who can read, interpret, and understand basic common laws, yeah? We need leaders who can understand simple concepts of the law, international law, and the business law, yeah? Because when you're looking at the federation, you're now looking at the aspect of the international law, yeah? When you come down into your borders, just a summary. When you come down in your borders, yeah, the common transactions between nation A, nation B, nation C, you're now coming back to the business law. So just two basic concepts: international law and business law, and we are going to. I don't want to cut into your time.
Yeah, okay. I'm just actually supplementing on Esther's point of the Youth Council.
Yeah.
We have actually, you people are speaking about business and so many other aspects. But we have some common problems as youth of East Africa, which lies on education. On education. When I'm a Ugandan and I'm applying to a university in Kenya or Tanzania, I'm not going to pay the same fees with a native there.
Yeah,
You understand? When a Kenyan comes here and applies in Makerere, it will be the fees which I'm going to be paying will be very different from him or her. You understand? So I think there should be now a body which questions that. What is now the difference between me as Kiirya Ismail and the Kenyan when we are at this university in this integration?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where the integration of the Youth Council comes in, so that they can try to advocate for these common problems among the youth in East
Maybe
Africa.
additionally, even in terms of academic qualifications.
Yes.
Does my law degree in Uganda mean a law degree in Kenya?
Kenya.
Can I be given a practicing license in Kenya?
Can
you practice anywhere?
Can you practice in Kenya? Will even be the question.
Finally,
Yes, finally.
to that, I want to bring it to our notice that yes, we are the young people of the generation. We need to get to know what the young generation can do, what the young generation is advocating for. So if the East African countries are coming into unity as a one community, we cannot leave the young people behind, because they are the ones who are going to make either the federation work out or something like that. Because if we leave them behind, we've not yet informed them. Yes, this is the truth. If we do not inform the young people in the communities, the old people who are signing up treaties are going to phase out, and then the thing will fail. But let us inform them. Let the community form up a youth council for the East African Youth Council.
People are very bright.
You know, and they have actually the young people have ideas. They know how best we can actually do this.
Brian,
so I'm for that.
I'm
for the East African Youth Council, and I'm actually advocating for it.
Maybe before you come to me, just to supplement on hers in a nutshell. You see, the purpose of any federation in the world is to be considerate to your neighbors. Yes, you've brought up a good concept of the education. Let's look at the education system, especially in university. Yeah, a Ugandan, if I'm to pay 1.2 million, you'll find anyone from any nation, whether Kenya or Tanzania, will pay around 1.5. Yeah, are we being considerate? No, because look at the ordinary Aruho Brian. Let's say I have no passport, yeah, and I want to study in Kenya. I'm going to put in money for the passport. I'm going to put in the travel expenses. That is from Uganda to Kenya.
Actually, now you only need an ID.
Yes, I only need an ID. Yeah, and that's why I'm coming back to the whole point of being considerate. Yeah. When I get into Kenya, I'm still going to look for a room to stay in, and at the end, I'm going to pay an amount way more. But when the federation comes in and the National Youth Council, our 002 advocates for it. Yeah, we have 002, 002. When they advocate for it, and the leaders, you see the benefit of advocacy is that advocacy is heard by each and every person in their capacity. So when they listen to this, it will be maybe in their powers to push for it and say, look, if the youth leaders are saying this, I think we can work out this. You'll be considered 50-50.
Let me just stay with you, Comrade Brian.
Yes, please.
In an attempt to speak speculatively, okay, let's try to envisage the future, because I'm trying to look at the map of Africa, and I'm seeing that a country like Ethiopia already borders both Kenya and Sudan. You come down here, Zambia already borders both Tanzania and DRC Congo. Could we speculate and say, in the near future, we expect Ethiopia and Zambia to equally be joining us, or they could take a little while? I'm seeing Mozambique isn't so far from Tanzania. So could we speculatively speak that, you know, it's work in progress? Because I don't think Ethiopia right now belongs to any federation.
Yes.
I don't know of any. Neither does Zambia belong to any federation. Maybe SADC? No. SADC, no.
That's
So,
Southern.
yeah, could you expect these two countries at least to join us any time from now?
Maybe start with the question of Ethiopia. I think Ethiopia in the next 8 years would be part of us. The reason, Ethiopia, if you look at our bordering with Ethiopia, Ethiopia has most of, their commodities coming through Kenya, coming through. When you look at the agricultural commodities, we have seen most of our leaders, our East African leaders generally.
They also host the African Union.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most East African leaders, on a realistic scale, usually go to Ethiopia. And if you count in 5 years, the number of times they go to Ethiopia, they're more than the times they may even go to their neighboring countries.
Okay.
Yeah. So Ethiopia, if it comes back to being workable, if our federation does work as expected to, Ethiopia wouldn't want to come in, because they'll also look at their question, as you said, the question of interest, vis-a-vis the regional balancing. Yeah. So if everything works, it's all about working, implementation.
Yeah. So we must demonstrate that the current EAC can work.
Yes.
Then shall attract
because
more
why you have to show that you can work is because by the time, let's go back to the original East African community map. That was Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. Yeah. When the 3 states actually started working, that's how Rwanda and Burundi decided to join, because they saw these nations developing economically. There was progress, yeah?
Okay.
What has pushed DRC to come? They're saying that these guys are actually moving. And if my people in DRC are to benefit from the imports and everything, we need to partner with them, because one, we have seen Uganda has tried. Okay, I think, I don't want to think for President secondly, but I think he's saying that if Uganda has tried to open up and befriend us, we can pay back the equal respect, and then we get the respect of Kenya. So that will allow a lot of mobility.
Okay.
Yeah? So
sure.
if it's workable, Ethiopia wouldn't want to refuse.
Yeah. So colleagues, we are moving to the end. We have only 5 minutes to go. So I want to call upon you to give us your parting shots and your last words. It can be a way forward. Does this federation now mean that we have a higher negotiating power as East Africa, because of the size of our market? Now you can say, okay, Europe, for us, we are producing this on this scale, and therefore we can now negotiate for, much more, valuable products on the global scale and global market. So just our parting shots. I'll begin with Aruho, Comrade Esther, Comrade President, then Katushabe, just in 1 minute.
Right. Yeah. My simple request is one, that cuts to the youth. Let's embrace the federation with open hearts, so that later on in the future, we are not held accountable for the past failures. That's what I'd like to say.
Thank you so much. As a leader of the young people and an advocate for agriculture, being the backbone of our country, of course I call upon the young people of the country. Yes, the federation is here. The leaders of our country, our different countries, the different states have seen that yes, it is important for us. Let us embrace it. Let us come out and show our energies. Remember, we're going to be the next leaders in those positions. Come out. Let us go in and try to find ideas of how best we can make it work out, such that we can benefit as a whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For me, I'm just appealing to all the 7 nations to try to sensitize the citizens about the importance of the integration, so that they can really appreciate and know why we are in an integration. In East Africa, we have been having a GDP of $194 billion. But now with the bring now on DRC, with the 90 million people, our GDP actually is going to rise from $194 billion to $240 billion. So I think you see there is a great achievement. I'm also requesting actually my country to really try to embrace the integration and also utilize the opportunities in DRC. Not only seeing DRC as a way of looting gold and getting timber as it was, but as an opportunity where its citizens can achieve economically with the business and many things in that line.
Yeah,
I remain Kiirya Ismail, the president of the United
002.
Amazing.
002.
Yes, Katushabe.
Yeah, as I conclude, I want us to, understand that it's very important to learn, yeah? It is very important to learn and also look up to something, yeah, because you're always motivated by maybe what someone has done or what they are good at, yeah? It does not take away their originality, but then it adds something on you, yeah? So what am I trying to drive at here? That we have already seen our superpowers come together, and what they have achieved and benefited is actually bigger than the challenges we see them facing, yeah? So my question or my call is actually to the leaders, yeah? Let our leaders also look at the good side of us, benefiting from the federation, yeah? And not our dictatorship or our self-interest or our ego, yeah? All those, we should first drop them aside and understand how much do we benefit, yeah? This is Africa. We are very rich at certain things that maybe even those other countries do not have, yeah? So the moment we realize our potential as Africa and get together, we are surely going to benefit from this. And what our leaders do is what we, the young or the next leaders, are going to, do, because we are following their steps, yeah? So we just really pray that the federation works, yeah? We look up to what other federations, have achieved, yeah? And also understand that we can achieve from that. Otherwise, it's about dropping the greed, dropping the dictatorship, yeah? The self-interest, and understanding that it is not yours, but it is ours. My name is Katushabe Brendan, Uganda Christian University. Thank you so much.
Wow, amazing. Thank you very much, Comrade Katushabe, Comrade Kiirya, Comrade Dr. Esther, I should forget the doctor, Comrade Council Aruho. Thank you very much for all being amazing panelists. If I'm to sum up this discussion, I'll just use the words of Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's revolutionary leader, who said that Africa must unite. Thank you very much, our viewers, for sparing the time to join us this afternoon. To the technical team, it's always a pleasure that you ensure that our viewers get this show right on time. From me to you, have a lovely week and see you next week, same time, same day. Bye-bye.